Have you ever looked at something ancient and thought, like, how did they do that? We're talking about structures so massive, so precise, they still baffle us, thousands of years later.
Yeah.
Forget your everyday bricklaying, because today on Dansplained, we're diving deep into the realm of pharaohs, colossal stones, and mysteries that still have archaeologists scratching their heads.
It's really incredible.
So you brought us this truly compelling set of information all about pyramids. And specifically, we're going to be focusing on the incredible Egyptian structures.
Yes, definitely.
And we've got details on what their original purpose was, how they were built, or at least the leading theories.
Right.
And even a look at similar structures that popped up in other ancient cultures across the globe.
A worldwide phenomenon.
So if you've ever felt a bit overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information that's out there on this topic, our goal for this deep dive is to really get a handle on the key facts and the enduring mysteries surrounding these ancient wonders without getting lost in all the overly technical rabbit holes.
Exactly.
So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's unpack this.
Okay, so when you picture Egypt, chances are pyramids kind of leap to mind, right? It's easy to just see them as these like giant piles of rock baking in the desert.
Right.
But the more you kind of explore them, the more you realize they were so much more than that.
Yeah.
Their existence really speaks to this unparalleled level of ambition and sustained effort from this early civilization.
Absolutely.
So like their main function, at least when they first started appearing during the Old Kingdom.
Yes.
And the Old Kingdom was a really significant period in ancient Egyptian history. It's often called the Age of the Pyramids because of all the construction that was happening then around 2580 to 2560 BCE.
Right.
Was as tombs for pharaohs. Like, think about iconic rulers like Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure.
Yes.
These immense structures were designed as their final resting places, intended to ensure their safe journey into the afterlife.
Right.
It's a pretty big deal, right?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
When you wrap your head around the sheer scale,
Yeah.
The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, originally stood at the staggering height of almost 147 meters.
It's huge.
Yeah, it held the record as the tallest human-made structure on Earth for over 3,800 years.
Wow.
That's an almost incomprehensible stretch of time.
Yeah.
For nearly 4 millennia, this single human creation dominated the skyline.
Yeah.
That's a truly profound insight into the priorities and capabilities of this ancient civilization.
Definitely.
Then consider what went into building it.
Yeah.
An estimated 2.3 million stone blocks.
Huge.
With each of those blocks weighing anywhere from 2 tons to 80 tons.
It's unbelievable.
The logistics of simply quarrying and moving those kinds of weights are difficult to even imagine with today's technology, let alone with the copper tools they were supposedly using.
I know, it's really hard to fathom.
Copper tools,
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how precise they could have been.
Right.
But here's something I found really striking in our sources. The level of accuracy they achieved is just astounding.
It's amazing.
So the base of the Great Pyramid, for instance, is level within a mere 2.1 centimeters.
Wow.
And its alignment with true north is off by only about 0.06 degrees.
It's practically perfect.
Practically perfect.
Yeah.
Achieving this level of near perfect levelness across such a massive footprint, especially with the rudimentary tools we believe they had, speaks to incredibly sophisticated surveying techniques that we are still trying to fully understand.
I know, it's mind-boggling.
What's so fascinating here is that this combination of immense size and incredible precision wasn't just like down to brute force.
Right.
It indicates a deep understanding of surveying techniques and astronomy.
Exactly.
This wasn't just about moving big rocks.
No.
There was clearly a sophisticated knowledge base at play.
Yeah.
And it's this combination that contributes so much to the ongoing mystery surrounding them.
Absolutely.
And speaking of mysteries, it's not like every single corner of these structures has been completely mapped out.
Right.
We know about the main chambers, but there have been hints and even discoveries of others, like that big void that was identified back in 2017.
Yes.
Makes you wonder what else might still be hidden deep inside.
Oh, I know.
And then you have these theories about their alignment with the stars, particularly Orion's belt, which adds a whole cosmic dimension to their significance.
Right.
So if you've ever looked up at the night sky and then back at the pyramids, that potential connection is something truly intriguing to consider.
It really is.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, These potential astronomical links suggest a very deliberate symbolic connection between the pharaoh's earthly reign and the celestial realm. It further emphasizes the importance of their journey into the afterlife.
Exactly.
It wasn't just about being buried, it was about joining the cosmos.
Yeah.
So we have a better understanding of why they were built, and we've touched on the incredible materials and the unbelievable precision involved.
Right.
But for many, the really burning question is, how did they actually build them?
Yeah. How did they do it?
This is a really important question.
It is.
And while we don't have definitive blueprints or eyewitness accounts, the leading theory that holds the most weight within the archaeological community revolves around the use of ramps.
Okay.
There's archaeological evidence from 2018 that provides support for this idea,
Okay.
with findings indicating the use of sledges and ropes to drag these massive stones up inclined surfaces.
I see.
Sledges and ropes.
Yeah.
You can kind of picture it in your mind, but the sheer effort involved in dragging those multi-ton blocks up a ramp, even with a large workforce,
Yeah.
it's still hard to comprehend the scale of that undertaking.
It really is.
But it's also important to kind of adjust the common perception that the workforce was made up entirely of slaves, as is sometimes depicted in popular culture.
Right.
Evidence actually suggests these were skilled laborers who often worked seasonally. We've even uncovered the remains of villages with bakeries and clinics that supported these workers.
Oh, wow.
Which points to a significant degree of organization and even care for their well-being.
That's interesting.
That paints a much different picture of the society behind these monumental projects.
Yeah, it really does.
Not just endless forced labor, but a structured workforce with its own infrastructure.
Right.
And while ramps seem to be the most likely method, it's not the only idea that's been floated.
Yeah.
I've definitely come across other theories involving things like water systems or livers.
Oh, yeah.
There are other intriguing possibilities that have been proposed over the years, and they continue to be explored.
Right.
But the ramp theory currently aligns best with the majority of the archaeological evidence we have. But the crucial takeaway here is that the exact techniques they used remain unknown.
Yeah.
There are no clear, detailed records, which is precisely why the construction of the pyramids continues to be such a fascinating subject of ongoing research and debate,
Of course.
which, in a way, only adds to their mystique.
Yeah.
Now, while Egypt's pyramids are undoubtedly the most famous examples that come to mind, they weren't the only ancient civilization to build these kinds of structures, were they?
Not at all.
What's truly fascinating is that we see pyramid-like forms emerging in completely different parts of the world, often with their own unique purposes and distinct designs.
Yeah.
It speaks to a potential shared impulse in human civilization to create monumental structures.
Definitely.
Let's start by looking at Mesoamerica. You mentioned some really impressive examples there.
Yeah, so in Mesoamerica, you have awe-inspiring structures like the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan and El Castillo at Chichen Itza.
Okay.
However, their primary purpose differed quite significantly from the Egyptian pyramids. Well, these were primarily temples used for important religious rituals, not tombs for rulers.
I see.
So if you're thinking about the core function, that's a key difference.
So instead of being focused on the afterlife of a single powerful individual, they were more about public ceremonies and communal worship?
Exactly.
Okay.
And their design really reflects this different purpose.
Okay.
Mesoamerican pyramids are typically stepped with a flat top, where temples were situated. Particularly captivating detail is the serpent shadow phenomenon at El Castillo during the spring and autumn equinoxes, where the setting sun casts a shadow that appears as a slithering serpent along the balustrade.
Wow.
It's a powerful visual representation of their calendar system and religious beliefs.
That sounds incredible.
It is.
So a deliberate alignment with celestial events?
Yes.
Is that a common thread we see with pyramids across the globe?
It is a recurring theme.
Right.
We see this in Mesoamerica with alignments to stars like the Pleiades, which suggest a potential universal human fascination with the cosmos and a desire to connect their earthly structures with the heavens.
I see.
But the key difference to always keep in mind is that public ritualistic use versus Egypt's more private tomb-focused pyramids.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Different primary purpose leading to different designs, but maybe with some shared underlying interests like the stars.
Right.
What about Nubia in modern-day Sudan?
Yeah.
Our sources mention they also built pyramids?
They did, and in Nubia we actually see a closer parallel to the original purpose of the Egyptian pyramids.
Okay.
The Meroe pyramids, which were built between roughly 300 BCE and 350 CE, served as royal tombs, echoing that initial function we saw in Egypt's Old Kingdom.
Interesting. So a similar core idea, but were the structures themselves similar in appearance?
Not entirely. Nubian pyramids are generally smaller and much steeper in their angle compared to their Egyptian counterparts.
Hmm.
What's quite striking is the sheer number of them, over 200, were built in Nubia.
Wow.
However, they tend to be less precise in their construction, and unfortunately, many of them were looted in the 19th century, which has impacted our understanding of their contents.
So a later echo of the Egyptian tradition, perhaps carried out on a slightly different scale and with less of that enduring precision we see in Egypt.
Yes.
And finally, China.
Yeah.
I vaguely recall reading about pyramid-like structures there as well.
That's right. The mausoleum of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, dating back to around 210 BCE, is a significant example. However, it takes a somewhat different architectural form.
Oh, okay.
It's more accurately described as a stepped mound, rather than the classic smooth-sided pyramid shape we typically associate with Egypt.
A stepped mound. So more of a gradual terraced incline leading up to a flat top.
Precisely. And what's particularly intriguing about Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum is its underground location and the incredible terracotta army that was buried with him. This provides a fascinating contrast to the more accessible nature of the Egyptian pyramids.
Oh.
Also, compared to their Egyptian counterparts, the Chinese pyramids, or burial mounds, are generally less studied by the international archaeological community.
So a global phenomenon, but with very distinct flavors and purposes, depending on the specific culture and their beliefs.
Yes.
It really highlights that fundamental human drive to create something lasting and significant.
It does.
Now, you mentioned some of the lesser-known details about the Egyptian pyramids earlier that really caught my attention, like the bent pyramid at Dashur.
Yes, the bent pyramid. It's a really interesting case study in early pyramid design because its angle noticeably changes about halfway up. The prevailing theory among archaeologists is that this was due to early structural concerns, or perhaps a change in the intended design, sort of real-time course correction by the ancient builders.
Or a real-time design adjustment.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic example of ancient problem-solving and learning through the actual construction process.
Absolutely.
And then there's the Red Pyramid, which I understand is also quite significant in its own right.
Absolutely. The Red Pyramid, also located at Dashur, is widely considered to be the first truly smooth-sided pyramid ever built.
Wow.
What's also really significant is that it actually predates the famous Giza pyramids, essentially showcasing an important step in the architectural evolution towards that classic, iconic pyramid form.
So almost like a prototype.
In a way, yes.
And then there's the Sphinx.
Yes.
I've come across some pretty mind-bending theories about just how old it might actually be.
The Sphinx enigma is definitely one that continues to captivate and spark debate.
For sure.
While the traditional dating places its construction around 2500 BCE, aligning it with the reign of Khufu, some researchers point to compelling evidence of significant water erosion on the walls of its enclosure. They argue that this level of erosion could only have occurred during a much wetter climatic period in Egypt's distant past, potentially pushing its construction date back as far as 7000 BCE.
Wow.
That would represent a truly revolutionary shift in our understanding of ancient Egyptian history and the capabilities of the people living there at that time.
That would certainly rewrite a few textbooks.
It would.
And it's primarily based on these patterns of water erosion.
That's the core of their argument.
Okay.
Proponents suggest that the extensive vertical weathering patterns are characteristic of prolonged exposure to rainfall, which is something that hasn't been seen in the Giza region for thousands of years. It's a controversial theory and not universally accepted, but it certainly forces us to consider different timelines and possibilities.
It definitely does. It makes you look at the Sphinx with a whole new perspective.
Yeah.
What about getting a glimpse into the lives of the actual people who built these things?
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier they weren't slaves and that some interesting graffiti was found inside the Great Pyramid.
Yes. The discovery of graffiti within some of the internal chambers, most famously the Friends of Khufu inscription, provides a really valuable and personal connection to the builders. It suggests a sense of community organization into work, gangs with names, and even a sense of pride in the pharaoh they were serving.
Friends of Khufu.
Yeah.
It suddenly makes them feel less like anonymous laborers and more like actual individuals with their own lives and social connections.
It does.
And finally, you touched on a more recent discovery, a thermal scan that found a cold spot within the Great Pyramid.
That's right. Back in 2016, a team using infrared thermography detected a significant thermal anomaly on the eastern side of the Great Pyramid. The presence of a cold spot could indicate the existence of undiscovered internal passages or voids, as these areas would retain heat differently than solid stone. It's another tantalizing clue that suggests that pyramids may still hold secrets waiting to be uncovered.
So even with centuries of research, they're still managing to keep secrets.
Right.
It's incredible that these structures built thousands of years ago, with what we might consider relatively simple tools, continue to yield new information and spark our curiosity.
Yeah.
It makes you think about why we're still so utterly captivated by what are, at their core, massive piles of rocks.
It's a good question.
So what do you think?
Well, I think there are several compelling reasons for our enduring fascination.
Okay.
Firstly, the sheer engineering genius on display is absolutely undeniable.
Yeah.
The immense scale, the almost unbelievable precision, all achieved with seemingly rudimentary tools. It's a powerful testament to human ingenuity, problem-solving skills, and the ability to organize on a massive scale.
Just the logistical challenges alone are staggering to even contemplate. So we've got the engineering genius. What else?
Secondly, as we've discussed throughout this deep dive, the unsolved mysteries continue to draw us in. The tantalizing possibility of hidden chambers, the ongoing debates surrounding the exact construction techniques, the lingering questions about their astronomical alignments, these all contribute to keeping the enigma of the pyramids alive and inspiring further exploration and research.
And let's not overlook their enduring presence in our popular culture.
Of course not.
They frequently pop up in movies like The Mummy.
Right.
And even in more fringe theories, like the idea of pyramid power. They've truly embedded themselves in our collective imagination as symbols of ancient mystery and power.
Absolutely. And I think the fact that we see these pyramid-like structures appearing across the globe in vastly different cultures and time periods speaks to a more fundamental and perhaps even innate human drive, a desire to create something lasting, something monumental that transcends individual lives and stands as a testament to the capabilities of their civilization.
So from colossal tombs built with astonishing precision to stepped temples carefully aligned with the stars, this deep dive into pyramids reveals not just incredible feats of ancient engineering, but a fundamental and widespread human desire to create something enduring, something truly monumental.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder what future generations will make of our own attempts at leaving a mark on the world.
It does make you wonder.
Hopefully, this exploration has given you a clearer understanding of these ancient wonders, satisfying that initial curiosity, while perhaps also sparking a few new questions of your own.
I hope so.
There's always more to explore, from the intricate details of ancient Egyptian society to the ongoing debates about advanced construction methods.
Exactly.
For the latest deep dives, in-depth articles, and to check out our partner products, be sure to visit us at www.dansplained.xyz. Until next time, keep digging deeper.
Sounds good.